All right, so welcome to our first lesson for the summer. Uh, we're going to talk about context clues. So this is essentially trying to figure out what a word means if we don't know what it means while we're reading. And so the big question is why we have Google, right? Uh, so that's a very good response, right? So basically, this slide is not centered, and what it's saying is vocabulary. That's going to be the words that, like, you read in a textbooks when it gives you a list of things and what is this definition. When we're talking about in context, we're talking about what does that word mean in relation to the whole story, to the whole paragraph, to the sentence. So there's a little bit more to it than just give me the straight definition of this word. So again, why is this important when we have Google? Google, when you Google something, it's going to give you that vocabulary definition where it's not really going to give you the what is the author trying to say. Maybe the author's being a little clever and doesn't give you or is playing with the word a little. So we're going to learn how to do it in context. And let's be honest, sometimes we're too lazy to get up and we're not near our device to Google something. Let's learn how to figure out what it is. And ultimately, the purpose of this is it is an exercise. It's a brain exercise. How can we stretch our brain to learn more and to learn in a different way on its own, not relying on Google, um, just to make our brain stronger, to make our learning easier as we go forward. Sometimes we got to put in work in order to do that. So there's four different strategies that we could think of when thinking about, like, how do we think of a word in context. So one is going to be rewording the word. What word can I use instead of this word in this context that works? And then, oh, then I can figure out what that word means, knowing its synonym. And that's a lot like rewording. Like, what word can I use as the same, or that I believe is the same given this context, and then giving its antonym. So the opposite. What is the opposite of this word that wouldn't fit? And then giving us details about the word. So sometimes in a passage, and we'll see this in the examples, like the author will tell us what the word means. And we just have to connect the words to the definition given because, again, the author wants to give a specific context to what is going on. So let's start off with an example of rewording. We're just waiting for the slide. So a resentment, a feeling of bitterness and anger, is often felt by people who are passed over for promotions. So let's go ahead and just think we don't know the word resentment, but the author goes ahead and gives us a good idea, a feeling of bitterness and anger. So we can actually just say a feeling of bitterness and anger is often felt by people who are passed over for promotions. So resentment, the definition is given right there. And sometimes this is done to make sure that, clarification. If we do have a complex word that we're using, we'll give the definition of it. And sometimes it's stylistic. The author wants both the word and the definition there, just for flow, rhythm, different components of literary style that are used. So let's take a look at another one. The Cruz family. Well, that just disappeared. What do we got to do to get that one back? There we go. The Cruz family moved from their dilapidated house. That one does not last, does it? So we have the Cruz family and they moved from their dilapidated house. So let's just think of that because the computer's giving us right now. What might dilapidated mean? So we can go, it isn't as easy as the first example where they're kind of comma, here's the definition. Let's just think. What are you more likely, because of course there's tons of context out there of why the Cruz family might move, but are you more likely to move from a nice house or a rundown house? And in this case, dilapidated means to be worn and run down. So, you're going 50-50 in there. And I'm sure if we had more of the context that the computer was supposed to give us, it would have been a little bit easier to figure out. So now we're going to talk about synonyms. And remember, synonyms are very similar to kind of the rewording. Wow, that does not last at all, does it? Um, and so we'll go ahead and take a look at that as well. So the three brothers began to altercate over the game. Okay. So they began to altercate over the game. So if you can imagine three brothers, again, let's think about this. Are three brothers, and imagine in your own family, and let's imagine a video game. Are they more likely to share over the game or have conflict over the game? And likely, I mean, this could be my life experience, but they're more likely to have conflict. And as such, altercate is gonna align itself. It's gonna be a synonym. It's gonna be a like word for that occurrence. See how quickly this one goes. This one's I feel like I'm waiting to catch something. And that's the one that we went ahead. And it said this was not the first time that they had a dispute. So dispute and altercate are the same. So then again, let's take a look at antonyms. So antonym is the opposite. So we'll try to figure out words based on the opposite that's been given. There we go. David was very outgoing as opposed to his coy older sister. Okay, David was very outgoing as opposed, so opposite to his coy older sister. So if David is outgoing, his older sister is the opposite. So coy is going to mean not outgoing. And that's what it is. It's kind of shy, it's kind of reserved. And so that's an example of finding a definition from the context using an antonym. All right. Come on, details, and be slow. All right. So in this case, father was ecstatic because Joshua decided to go to college that he wanted him to. Okay. So Joshua makes this decision to go to college, and his father is feeling a certain way. And so we can think maybe the father is feeling excited or the father is angry, but it says that he wanted him to. So that means we're going to go in the direction of the positive. So father was excited because Joshua decided to go to college to the college that he wanted him to. That makes sense. All right, so that's just looking at some details, trying to figure out things from there. So let's take another example. And I think I figured out how to stop this. Go. All right. Brian was expeditious when he left the school building. He ran through the halls, jumped in his car, and sped off. All right. So what did Brian do? He ran through the halls, jumped in his car, and sped off. So he's looking to get out. All right. So Brian was blank when he left. Well, he's running, he's jumping, he's not stopping. So Brian was quick. And that is exactly what expeditious means. So we can figure out words from the other words and clues and definitions that a writer might drop in for other literary purposes to figure out what's going on. So just as a recap, let's look at our four strategies here. It's rewording, giving it synonym, its antonym, and giving us details about the word. All right. Now, for those of you who are in my class, here comes the homeworky part. So we're going to go through some slides. I want you to figure out what these words are. And when we do come to our vocabulary test later this month, these are part of it. Oh, yeah, part, not all of it. That'd be too easy. But let's take a look. So we're going to take a look at practice one. All right. So Mallory's mom thought that the new outfit that she had bought for her was modish. Mallory did not want to break it to her, but it was totally out of style. So this one's a little complicated because it does point to a particular time, but it's out of style. So that's and when would it be in style? And so that's a clue to try to figure that one out. So if you happen to know, go ahead and throw it in the comment section under this video. Take a guess, take a chance. And yes, I understand that this slide is jumping from practice one to practice three. All right, so the woman enjoyed the savor of the balance, enjoyed the savor of the soup, had a hint of spices balanced with the perfect amount of sweetness. So let's take a look at that second sentence, like hint of spices balanced with the perfect amount of sweetness. That sounds like someone who's really enjoying. So what does savor mean in that context? All right. And the next slide is actually the correct number. So the day had proven to be very torrid. Before the sun had even risen, it was already hot outside. So before the sun had already risen, imagine that. What kind of feeling do you think torrid gives that even before the sun is out, it's already hot? And that would be a lot like Tucson in the summer. All right, number 5. It is our custom that the bride and groom only wear the finest raiment on their wedding day. So they're wearing something. It's a special day, wedding day. What would raiment uh, mean? And to be honest with you, I always thought it was raiment with an N. It's raiment. Okay? Even I learned some of this stuff. Though many types of birds fly in groups, eagles are birds of solitude. Okay, so this might be a good antonym one. Many birds fly in groups. Eagles are different. So what would be the opposite of being in a group? And that would be solitude. So just a quick little introduction to finding clues in context. Really, this is a mental exercise given today's tools that we have at our availability. So this is really to kind of stretch your brain, um, wake it up, and get that thinking flowing, so that you can learn even more. Love to hear your answers down in the chat, whether you're in the class or not. And feel free to reach out if you would like to learn any more about context clues. Thank you very much, and hope to see you soon.